Can you feel the joy? It's beginning to come back. As you know, it's been a long, hard slog. And I can't even say it's been a couple of months, it's been a couple of years where we just feel as if we have been carrying an incredibly heavy load. And it's just getting heavier and heavier every time we turn around and look at it. Well, here's the good news is that as we move through March, we're going to start feeling this element of joy coming back into our lives. I love this picture that's on the screen because that for me is just harnessing the absolute joy that is out there, and it's coming back, and we can feel it, we can feel it, we can feel it. Hallelujah. It's about time. I don't know about you, but here I'm sitting in my space, in my little part of the world, and I'm saying, oh my word, it's about time. Now, it's really beautiful where I live. The birds are all coming back from the southern hemisphere, and it actually feels to me exactly like this picture, like they're sitting on those wires, and they're sitting on the telephone wires, and everybody's chit-chatting and saying, and so what did you get up to, and how was your summer, and where did you go, and what did you do? And it's this glorious energy that is out there of chirping and cheeping and twittering that's all over the place wherever you go. And especially outside my office window, I've got a couple of birds who are building nests outside my office window. And so when I open the windows, all I'm hearing is this glorious twittering. It really is this reminder that no matter how hard things get and no matter how dark things get, spring comes around again. Now, for those of you who are in the southern hemisphere, you are saying goodbye to the sun and you're lending it to us for a while. But for those of us in the northern hemisphere, there is this energy of joy as we can take off some of those really heavy winter woolies and we can start to bear a little bit of skin because the sun is coming back. Wherever you are in the world, whether you're in the southern hemisphere, whether you're in the northern hemisphere, this energy of things lightening up, it's universal, it's global, it's on the way for all of us, no matter where you are in the world. Now, we have got a couple of more days to go of Mercury retrograde, dratted Mercury retrograde. In my last little video that I did, I said that it has been bitchy, bitchy, bitchy. It has been one of these energies where forget misunderstandings, forget miscommunications. It's been enough to peel the skin off our backs. So the best thing I can say about Mercury retrograde is by this time next week it's done. It's finished. And then we are out of retrograde, and what we are in is the shadow period that comes after every Mercury retrograde. And we need to just allow it a couple of weeks to calm down, and then we get back to normal. And I'm just so thankful that this one is finished, because I have to tell you, I felt like this dog, where I have literally been biting my tongue until it bleeds, because there have been some people and some instances where you want to go, what the heck were you thinking when you did that or you said that? But of course, we've listened to our own counsel, we've muzzled ourselves, and we just haven't said anything. But this energy of having to bite your tongue until it bleeds, thank God that has calmed down and that has moved on. So here we are. And if you look at that picture that's on the screen right now, most of you will be able to identify, because that's what it's felt like. 2019 was tough. 2018 was tough. 2017 was tough. And it has felt as if we have been pulling this load, this incredibly heavy load. And I have often said, it's felt like I'm carrying this load, and there are people behind me saying, oh, well, if you're going that way, why didn't you carry this as well? And oh, why didn't you carry that? And it's just been getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And it feels as if we have been laboring hard labor. It's been relentless. It's been nonstop. And guess what? We finish a day's work, and what happens? We go home, we try to catch some sleep, and we get up and we do it all over again tomorrow. It has been this energy of absolute relentlessness. You know that. You felt it. You've told me. I've felt it as well. It's been this energy of relentless slog. And hey, face it, we are tired. And if you are really honest with yourself, there is a deep exhaustion about where we are right now. The Germans have a really good saying, and it is, ich kann nicht mehr. Ich kann nicht mehr, which means I just can't anymore. And for me, that I think is where a lot of us have found ourselves at the end of February. Ich kann nicht mehr. I can't take on any more load. I can't do any more. Just give me some time to just lay down and relax. And this is one of the messages of where we are right now in this period. Until we are out of Mercury retrograde, so until this time next week, you want to be in a space where you give yourself time to breathe, you give yourself time to come down a little bit, and you give yourself some recognition and some respect for the heavy slog and the heavy load that you've been carrying. You know, I think one of the things that we tend to do with ourselves is we just load it up and load it up and load it up, and then we become hypercritical and self-critical of ourselves. Like, what's wrong with me that I can't carry all this load? Well, what's wrong with us is that we've been carrying a load for a bloody long time, and we've been carrying it and it's been getting heavier and heavier, and we haven't given ourselves time to slow down and put it down for a while. So here's what happens when you've been carrying a load and it suddenly gets taken off your shoulders. We seem to develop this ability of resilience while we are carrying. You know, we just keep pulling and pulling and pulling. And then when it gets lifted, we collapse. We fall down. Then we collapse into exhaustion. It's the strangest thing that when you're carrying the stress and when you're dealing with monumental stress, you just keep on dealing with it. And then when it's taken away from you, you only realize the weight of what you've been carrying when it's taken away from you. And so we need to be very, very self-aware as we go through March, that we don't go into this collapsing energy now that things are beginning to lighten up. It's the strangest thing. In fact, it just sounds so counterintuitive, doesn't it? That as things lighten up and as things start to get easier, that I should be feeling more expansive. I should be feeling stronger. I should be feeling more capable. And for a while, the reverse is true. So if you are feeling like this camel, like you want to face plant into the desert and just stay there for a couple of days, give yourself permission to do it. Really, truly give yourself permission to do it. Because I think if there's one thing that most people I speak to have in common, we're exhausted beyond measure. Physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally exhausted beyond measure. So recognize it, honor it, respect it, give yourself some enormous credit, and then give yourself some time out. So what has changed? You know, I'm telling you it's been hard, check. I'm telling you you're exhausted, check. I'm telling you that things are beginning to lighten up and things are beginning to shift. So what actually has changed? Well, here's the thing. We know that it's a very hard working period. You know, we've got Saturn who's going to be running the show for the next 5 years. He's 2.5 years in Capricorn, and then he's 2.5 years in Aquarius, and he's running the show for the next 5 years. And Saturn has a number of qualities, but probably one of the most profound qualities he brings us is hard work. And so when I say to you that there is still a lot of hard work, here's what's different. It's work with a purpose. If you think of where we've been over the last couple of years, it's work and hope to God it works out. It's work and hope to God that this time this project makes money. It's work and hope to God that we can pay the rent at the end of the month. It's that kind of energy. The difference here, it's work for a purpose. It's work with a purpose. It's work for a result. And so if you think of this energy, let's look at the metaphor of a bee. Bees are busy, as busy as a bee. Bees are out there, they're always searching for pollen, and they're always searching for nectar. They keep going and going and going and going. Well, there's an analogy we can all relate to, because we've had to keep going and going and going. But here is the thing, is that our work that we're doing now, because we have a goal, because we have an outcome, because we have a purpose, and because there is this energy that work for a purpose, now things start coming together. The difference here is not in the amount of work. The difference is where that work is taking us. The difference here is that at the end of the day, as we move through this year, now at the end of the day, we're going to be in a space where we can understand the collaboration, we can understand the connection, we can understand the teamwork. We're all working for the same ends, we're all working for the same means, and we're working for a very, very specific outcome. And in a period like this, for the next 5 years, lots of hard work on the table. But I think we've been well trained for it. I think we have been well prepared for it. But now comes the outcome. Now we can start to see, I did this and this was the result. I did that and this was the result. I did this and so it changes the whole experience. It's not work that we're afraid of. It's relentless work without any kind of return on investment. It's not work that we're afraid of. It's work without an outcome. It's like get up, go to work, go to bed, go to sleep, get up, go to work, that kind of thing. We're not afraid of the work. We're afraid that it's all for nothing and that I'm working myself to a standstill and I've got nothing to show for it. Well, this is where it starts to change. And if spring has any metaphorical balance that we can take from it, it's that every time you stop and you listen to birds tweeting away and you can see that they are building their nest, what is the outcome? You know that they're going to get together, and you know there's going to be eggs, and you know there's going to be hatchings coming anywhere soon. And so here we are, is we're building the nest so that we can lay the eggs, so that we can have our hatchings. And that is exciting. And that is fabulous. And that is going to inspire us to keep going, because it's work with a purpose and work with an outcome. Now, March's energy has a very specific energy. On top of all of this that I'm talking about, you know that the energy of 2020 is a 4 numerologically. March is a 3, it's a third month. We add the 2 of those together, it gives us a 7. Okay, so let's just have a look and see the power of that 7 energy, so you can recognize it, you can leverage it, you can harness it as we go through this month. That energy is laser focused. It's got the ability to be super clear, super focused, incredibly insightful, very, very clear thinking. So if we have been like chasing things in our head and it's just like millions of thoughts going round and round, helter skelter, March's energy brings in an energy of clarity. So as we go through this month, allow yourself to come to a point of stillness. Why? Because it's super connected. It's incredibly intuitive. And if we give it space to breathe, it can be very, very psychic. In order to be intuitive, we need to come to a space of stillness. And as you know, with all this hecticness that has been around us, all this crazy movement and work, stillness hasn't been on the agenda. I cannot tell you how many people have said, I sit down to meditate, but I can't meditate. I can't connect anymore. What am I doing wrong? It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's that the energy has been so jagged, so heavy, so harsh. It's been difficult to actually break through. So here's the good news. As we go through March, you're going to see and feel the difference with your meditations, with your connections. This energy that we're in has got the ability to see what lies beneath, not just what's apparent, but what lies beneath, and then to connect it into that big picture. So it's not just big picture, it's able to see the detail, and then it's able to see the interplay and the relationship between them, which is also very, very profound because it gives us a depth that we haven't had for a while. There's intelligence, coherence that's coming back onto the table. It's inspired. It's a very, very inspired energy. Beautiful energies that you can see that we have as we go through this month. So just be aware of that. It also has got the ability to be incredibly analytical because it's laser focused, because it's clear thinking, because it sees what it is in relation to everything else. It's got the ability to analyze the situation. Remember, in order to truly analyze and move into discernment, again, we have to come to stillness. We have to come down. And then it is able to take what it's analyzed and put it into practice. So these are very exciting energies that are happening. And as we go through the blanket energy that is in March, you're going to feel this coming back online. Beautiful energy. Just be very, very aware, though, that there are certain pitfalls of this energy. Always duality, always pros and cons to everything, and to be very, very aware that this energy can get short-tempered and it can fly off the handle. Well, it stands to reason. And here, if you're feeling short-tempered, cut yourself some slack, really, truly, because, you know, after the couple of years that we've had and you're exhausted, then it's understandable that you might be a bit bad-tempered. I was gardening the other day. I took the day off and I spent the day in the garden. And I had a glorious day, you know, the hands in the soil and getting all mucky and dirty, and it was just wonderful. But here's the reality is that I was using muscles that I hadn't used for a long time because the last time I was gardening was before winter. And so come Tuesday morning, I was so stiff. I was so sore in parts of me that I'd forgotten existed. And of course, we live in an upstairs, downstairs house, and walking upstairs and walking downstairs, and even just silly acts like getting into the bath or sitting on the loo hurt. It absolutely hurt. And I have to confess, I got short-tempered because I was in pain and I was not gracious about how painful my body was. I lost my sense of humor for 2 or 3 days. Now, that's a silly little example, but now extrapolate that to 2 or 3 years of pulling and pulling and pulling, and you can understand why we might go to short-tempered first before we go to clarity. So just keep that in mind. Cut yourself some slack, because out of balance, this can become incredibly volatile and even volcanic. Think Vesuvius on a bad day, you know, it can become volcanic. So we want to just be aware that it's okay to be bad-tempered. It's okay to have a bad mood. It's okay to be stiff and sore, you know, after the couple of years that we've had. But it's not okay to shift into devastation and volcano spewing, you know, lava spewing volcanoes. This energy is unpredictable, and sometimes it keeps changing the goalposts that says we're going to do this, and no, we're going to do this, and no, it's going to be that, and then we keep going back. Make the plan. Remember the harness, the power of this. Make the plan, super clarity, super focused. Make the plan, and then put the plan in action, because it's all about application. Out of balance is critical and hyper judgmental of other people. and hyper judgmental of ourselves, so very over analytical of what we're doing and what everybody else is doing. So just be aware that if you go into hypercritical mode on yourself, to just be very aware of what it is you're doing. If you go into hypercritical mode on someone else, just pull yourself back to silence, pull yourself back to stillness, because it's part and parcel of this energy. If you find yourself thinking, what the hell is that person doing and what's going on in their head? That's a mild form. But if you find yourself taking action about what it is we're thinking about other people, then you need again to come back to that space of center. This energy has the ability to be extremely perfectionist, extremely intolerant. And, we can be intolerant on ourselves, but we can also be intolerant on the work that we're doing and what we allow to get out there. And, sometimes when we are hyper intolerant, we don't get anything done. When we're hyper perfectionist, we don't get anything done. And we're unable to relax, we're unable to slow down, we're unable to let anything go. And it's a bit like this. This meme that is doing the rounds at the moment was, if I waited until all my ducks in the row, I'd never get across the street. Think of that with this energy. Don't wait until everything is absolutely perfect to let it go off your desk. Because the more you wait for things to be perfect, the less action you will take, the more judgmental you will become of yourself, the more critical you will become of yourself, and the more you will paralyze yourself. So just be in that space of, does it work? It might not work as well as you want it to, but does it work? Does it do the job? Let it go. Next, move on. Because we level up each time we do this. We grow each time we do this. But so many times, so many people, they do it and they say it's not good enough, and so they do it again and it's not good enough, and they keep doing an enormous amount of work, doing the same work over and over and over. If there's a message for March, it's let your bloody ducks get across the street. Please get them out there. Let it go. Okay, so this is just a good reminder here. From now until the full moon on the 9th of March, I think that is on a Monday. We've got the wolf moon on the 9th of March. The wolf moon in the northern hemisphere signifies the end of winter. Yes! Yes, yes, you can see I'm excited. I'm a little bit excited about the end of winter. But from now until the full moon on the 9th of March. Remember, we're still in Mercury retrograde. Just remember that. So you don't want to go off at anybody. Remember, dot the I's, cross the T's, no massive contracts, no huge decisions. Don't beat up everybody in your space verbally. Avoid, if you need to, just bite the tongue. But we are still in Mercury retrograde until the 9th of March, until the 12th of March. The full moon is on the 9th of March. When we pull out of that energy on the 9th, when we pull out of that glorious full moon that we're going to have on the 9th, you can consider this energy that we've been talking about here well and truly ignited. So until then, self-care, self-care, self-care. Absolutely. It's not about massages. It's not about nail varnish. It's not about pedicures and hairstyles, although those things help. Absolutely. When you stiff and store from the garden, go run yourself a bath full of bubbles and Epsom salts. Absolutely. But it is this energy when we come to self-care. What is the best thing I can do for where I'm at? How can I honor my body's needs today? If I was going to honor who I am today in this emotional space, whether it's joyous or despair, if I was going to honor my emotions today, what would I do? If I was going to honor this project that I'm trying to birth, or this work that I'm doing, or these clients that I was working with, what would I do? If I was going to honor my need for financial safety, what would I do today? And when we bring it back, because self-care for me always comes back to one thing, just one thing. If I was going to honor me today, how would I act? And when we ask that question, we start saying, well, I would choose different foods. I would take the right multivits. I would do certain exercising, even though I don't want to. If I was going to honor me, I would. I would be in a space where I would get up and I would hit the desk. I would be in a space where I would open those envelopes and pay those bills. So it comes down to one thing only. If I was going to look after myself, if I'm going to honor myself, what would I do? For me, whenever I get into a space of overwhelm, I will go for a walk in the forests. Where are your forests? What do you need to do when you're in a space where you're overwhelmed? From now till the 9th, self-care, self-care, self-care. So a very quick stop uh, discussion about what we've got for this first part of March. It's a magical energy. It's a beautiful energy. It's beginning to come alive. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, just every now and then go out. Go and have a look at the garden. Go see the bulbs coming up. Go and listen to the birds in the garden. It's inspiring. It's magical. It reminds us the light is coming back. If you're in the southern hemisphere, the fact that you guys are going into autumn, you're going into winter, do it the other way around. Go and look at the fruits that have grown throughout summer. And be very aware that this too is a message that labors do have an outcome. And this is what is beginning to change as we go through this month. So there you go, very, very quick, short and sweet. Thank you for listening. I will be back with you really, really soon. And have a beautiful, gentle, wonderful, magical walk up to the full moon. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.